Okay, so it is 6 o'clock, and I'd like to welcome you guys for this evening. We'll just go ahead and get started and allow people to roll in. If you'll notice on the right side of your screen, there should be a tab there where you're able to actually interact with me. You'll be able to ask questions. You can even raise a hand. And if you're on a phone or if you're on a computer, I think you'll be able to communicate with me one-on-one directly through that. We might be able to give that a shot tonight. Not quite sure how that'll work out. However, for those of you guys who joined me on the last webinar, you guys noticed that there were some technical difficulties that we ran into, and I think we have that handled for tonight. And tonight I'm in a different setting. I'm not in the office where I was the last time, and I'm joining you live and direct from my home for this evening. So I see a lot of people are starting to join in. I see, let's see here. We've got Dakota is out there. Awesome. What's up, Dakota? Shannon is out there. I see Teddy. Teddy, welcome, welcome. I also have Vanessa's on the line from Canada. Also, I think Denise is joining you, so hello. And even Brenda Trullo joining us from Texas. So thank you for joining us. And I'll actually just get started. As we just have people begin to roll in, and there may be some late showers and stuff like that, but we'll just go ahead and get started. So a little bit about where we're headed for today. This is called the Rewards of Taking Risk webinar, and I'd like to welcome all of you to that. And so there's going to be a couple of things. I'll actually start off with two questions for you. And you can acknowledge those two questions by being at home. You can nod your head, or you can raise your hand, or you can type into the chat box a yes or no or whatever it is for you. And so what I want to start off with is, who amongst you are ready to take big risks in your life to achieve extraordinary results? And so you can either raise your hand, or you can nod, or you can chat with me on the bar down there. Awesome, I see some hands raised. And also, who amongst you are ready to learn the keys to making risk a part of your daily life? And this isn't, I'm not talking about small risks. I'm talking about big risks to achieve those results. So a raise of a hand or a head nod, awesome. So my name is Josiah Alipate, and for the next hour, I'm going to be your facilitator for the Rewards of Taking Risk webinar. And before I get into all of these things, I want to acknowledge each of you for being here today. You all have either taken time off from work or taking time away from all the different things that you could be doing now. I know that it's Memorial Day weekend, so some of you may be away from an awesome pool party or an amazing barbecue, and you decided to spend your time with me. And for that, I am in absolute gratitude. And a little bit about myself. I am 31 years old, and I live here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I've lived here for, I think, about 12 years. And over that period of time, I've done a whole bunch of different work, from working in a grocery store to construction to retail. And now I find myself as the director of marketing and a basic skills trainer for a behavioral center here in a behavioral health center here in Las Vegas called Life Changing Solutions. And what we do is we support kids, teens, and adults in breaking through all of the different barriers that have been stopping them and keeping them from being active with the people that they love. On top of that, I also am a volunteer senior coach for Spectrum Life Design Education, which is a program here in Las Vegas that is a 4-month journey, and it's broken down into 3 parts. And the foundation of it is experiential learning. And for those of you guys who don't know what experiential learning is, it's how would I put it? It's as if I were going to teach you how to ride a bike, I wouldn't lecture you on how to ride a bike. I wouldn't give you a book on how to ride a bike. I would actually put a bike in front of you and teach you how to ride a bike, and you would experience what it's like to ride a bike so that it's embodied in you. So that's a bit of what experiential learning is. And the base of that in the Spectrum Life Design Education model is emotional intelligence. And so for those of you who don't know what emotional intelligence is, there are Harvard studies that are done that say that emotional intelligence is the #1 deciding factor in success in life. So it's not the IQ that you have. In fact, it is the emotional intelligence, or EQ, that you have that determines success in all domains of life. And during this leadership program, they're broken down into 3 parts. The first part is called freedom, where you discover all of the limiting beliefs and all of the conditioning, social conditioning that has kept you from really living an extraordinary life and really kept you from all of those awesome and juicy goals that you have. Some of you out there want to make more money. Some of you out there want to have deeper relationships with the people around you. And so the Freedom Course is an opportunity to take a look at all of those things and discover all of the limiting beliefs that have stopped you. The second portion is called Life Design. And in Life Design, it's an opportunity to break through all of those limiting beliefs and live life outrageously, voraciously, to get out into life and really go for it by stretching on a daily basis. So, and then the most important part of all of these 3 courses, which really tie the first 2 pieces together, is called the Velocity Leadership Program. And the Velocity Leadership Program is 100 days of living your life on rocket fuel, living in such a way that all of the goals that you declare, 21 goals in 7 domains of your life, from relationships to finance to business and career to contribution to leisure time. All of it is possible and achievable within the Velocity Leadership Program. And so about 3.5 years ago, I decided to take on my Velocity Leadership Program. And at the time, I was working in the nightclub industry, and I wanted something new. I wanted to discover something new. So a friend of mine enrolled me into these trainings. And from these trainings, I've discovered so much about myself, including taking big risks. One in particular, attacking my biggest fear of public speaking on a webinar, staring into a camera, not knowing who's watching me. So within this entire 3.5 years, I've also come back to become a senior coach, and from there have really created a life for myself where everything is set up. So like I said, I work for Life-Changing Solutions. It is in complete alignment with where I'm headed. It allows me to interact with people. It allows me to step out of my comfort zone. And it also allows me to develop my skills in speaking with others and my relatability. So that is a little bit about myself. There are so many other pieces that I don't have time on this webinar to go over with each of you. But that's a small overview of who I am and what I'm up to. So the question is, what's in this webinar for you? What's available? And I'll tell you. So many times in life we have choices. We're faced with these choices in life. And some of these choices may have us at an advantage, or some of these choices may have us at a disadvantage, depending on what actions we take upon those choices. And this next portion that we're going to be jumping into of the webinar is about creating extraordinary results because you say so. And there's a couple of key distinctions within supporting you in taking risks in your life. So I've created a PowerPoint, which I'm going to be pulling up here shortly. So you won't be able to see my handsome face for a bigger portion of this webinar. But I will be walking through a PowerPoint, and in that PowerPoint, there's going to be some distinctions. And before we get into the PowerPoint, I want to set a foundation for all of you that are out there today. I want you to think for a moment, because I'm going to set up a context for you to live in for at least the next hour. Now, the bigger invitation is for you to live in this context for the rest of your life, but at least for the next hour, just take a journey with me. And this context, for the next hour, I'm going to be inviting you into a space where absolutely anything is possible. Anything is possible. And I'm also inviting you into a space of deep thought. So I'm not going to be doing the work for you. It's actually you're going to be doing the work. So wherever you may be right now, I invite you. You may have some friends and family who are with you. My biggest request is that you take a look at these distinctions, and you take a really hard look into your own life in terms of where I have been living in these distinctions, and where have I not been living in these distinctions. So I want to take this out of the realm of me just speaking into a camera, and I want to connect with you in such a way that you take some value with this and that you implement it into your daily life. So we'll actually get started. I'll pull up my screen here. And so we will pull up our screen. And here's the PowerPoint. So welcome to the rewards of taking risks. And like I said earlier, we are absolutely in a space to create extraordinary results because you say so. And so, like I said earlier, we're faced with choices in our life, and depending on what actions that we take on those choices, will bring us the result. And sometimes over the course of the years and years of our existence here on this planet, we've created a sort of relationship with risk that is driven mostly, a lot of the time, by fear. So when I say the word risk, what do you think about? What goes on in your head when I say the word risk? What comes up for you? Some people may say it's a gamble. Some people may say that that risk is fearful. It is a win or lose situation, a all or nothing situation. And in all of those instances, whatever the result was, especially if the result wasn't the desired outcome, we begin to shape a relationship with risk. And so I'll share with you a little bit a story about myself. So I was 20 years old when I moved here to or I was 18 years old when I moved here to Las Vegas. I was 20 years old, and uh, I didn't have my very first relationship, intimate relationship with someone until I was 20 years old. And I met this woman, and she was incredible. She was beautiful from head to toe. And at the time, she was everything I wanted in a woman. She was 30 years old. She had 2 kids. And we created an intimate relationship with each other. And even at one point, I asked her to marry me. And she said yes. And so I was so elated. I was so excited. I was jumping for joy. And I remember that particular day like it was yesterday. Every single detail, everything. And then a few months later, she broke up with me. It wasn't working out. The relationship wasn't working out on both ends. And the relationship came to an extreme halt. Now, this being my very first intimate relationship with someone, I began to create some beliefs about myself. I began to make up that I wasn't worthy. I began to make up that I was unable to be in a loving, caring relationship. And I began to make up all of these things that stopped me. And it wasn't until 4 years later until I got into another relationship. I was hurt. I was hurt. And within that hurt, I created a relationship with risk. I made up in my head that I wasn't going to love anyone the way that I loved her because it was too risky and I would get hurt. I made up in my head that I wouldn't be the loving gentleman that I was with her. Again, because it left me vulnerable. And then again, I would be hurt. So I created this relationship with risk, and it wasn't even just in the relationship. It also affected me in other areas of my life, from my career to relationships with my friends, and even my relationships in terms of what goals that I wanted. So I created this false advertisement in my head that I wouldn't take risks in terms of love. And it showed up in my life in so many different ways. And I carried that baggage on into other relationships because I was doing the same things that I was doing in the last relationship, so nothing ever really changed. Nothing ever really changed. And I was looking for something outside of me to have it change until I had the realization that it was up to me to have it change. So I created this relationship with risk that was terrifying. And so I'll stop right there and I'll ask you guys. And you can head nod or raise your hand if you're at home, or raise your hand here on the screen, or type in whatever it is for you. How many of you can relate to that? Not necessarily the particular story, but how many of you can relate to some form of that? Something where you gave your heart to it. You gave your heart and soul to it. And you didn't come up with the result that you wanted. And from that, you created a belief that you wouldn't go for it as much as you did, because it would only lead to your own hurt. It would only lead to your own pain and suffering. So where we're headed today in the rewards of taking risks is to a place where anything is possible. is to a place where we create a relationship with risk that creates extraordinary results. And not because anybody else says so, but you. So the first key to creating a healthy relationship with risk is follow your intuition. And this is not a matter of survival. So I don't know if there's any neurosurgeons out there on the line or any brainiacs, but we do have a reptilian brain that operates solely out of keeping us safe and solely out of fear so that we could survive. But following our intuition is absolutely not about survival. It's a matter of living in alignment with what calls you forth. And you may need to cut through all of this stuff. There's a lot of stuff that may be in the way. There's a lot of voices. I like to call them my committee. And you might be able to relate in having a committee of voices that constantly tell you that you can't, or that's the wrong way to go, or you shouldn't do that. You might get hurt. She might break your heart. He might break your heart. Don't ask for that promotion. Don't take any days off because you might get fired. It could be all of those different types of voices in your head. However, the deep voice of intuition is that singular voice amongst all of the many voices that say you can and you will. So it's a matter of following your deep intuition. And so this is actually something that I go over in the Breath of Life workshop, which I'm delivering on June 11th. There are some practices that you can do and that you can implement into your daily life to really connect to whatever it is your deep intuition is. And it requires a few different things. It requires for you to be present. It requires for you to slow down, to stop, to be aware. And choosing from your deep intuition is really what will begin to take hold of you in terms of taking big risks. So the next one is surrender to what is. Surrender to what is. And I want to ask you guys, how often do people not surrender to what is? And they're in this resistance. And within that resistance, there is turmoil. There is frantic energy. As opposed to, I want you to imagine full-on surrender to whatever it is your vision is, to whatever it is that you want in your life. What does full-on surrender feel like in your body? For some, they may say that it's a feeling of weightlessness. It's a feeling of just jumping off the cliff. And I experienced something like that. So as I told you before, I've been involved in this form of transformational work for a greater portion of 3.5 years. And during that time, I decided that I was going to take the leap of faith and become a trainer, a facilitator of these workshops. And so I signed up for a course called Trainer Forum. And Trainer Forum is a 6-month program that is rigorous, that challenges people. And I was really scared when I got in there. A few weeks ago, I went into the first module a trainer forum, which was called Train the Trainer Intensive. It was a 5-day workshop. And within that workshop, we had opportunities to stand in front of a group of people, to speak, and to receive feedback from people. And the feedback that we received was in the form of what did work and what didn't work for me. And so I sat and I watched a few people go on the stage, and I heard I heard their feedback, and I heard what didn't work was blah, blah, blah. And then I heard what didn't work was and what worked was. So I heard people getting this feedback, and so I mustered up the courage to go up next. And so I go up next, and I do what I did on the stage, and I asked for feedback. And to my surprise, I only received what did work feedback. And in terms of the feedback that I got that didn't work, it was all about the mechanics. So everything else was good. So I went through the entire week and I wondered to myself, oh, well, why am I getting all of this great feedback? And I thought to myself, I started getting in my head about things, and it was really bad. And I took time off from work, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, I took time off from work and I'm coming here and I came here to elevate myself and to grow myself, and I'm not hearing anything that's supporting me, because I had this notion that what supports me is all of the things that don't work about me. So I took time off from work, and in the middle of the week I received a phone call from my boss who said that he didn't have a communication that I was taking the week off. And so he was assuming that I quit my job. It was a weird call for me to receive throughout the midweek, but I was so focused on this trainer intensive weekend. And on the final day, on a Saturday, I go into the room and I still can't rack my brain around why I was receiving all of this great feedback from people and I wasn't receiving the feedback that I wanted. And the feedback that I wanted was everything that didn't work about me. Again, because I made up in my head that all of the things that don't work about me is what I get to work on, and then I will improve and elevate myself, which is true. But for me in that moment, I remember it distinctly. I stood up and I said that it dawned on me. It dawned on me that the reason why I was looking for everything that doesn't work about me and looking for that feedback was because I was collecting evidence as to why I didn't belong there, as to why I couldn't do this. But the universe, however it works so amazingly, decided that it was going to support me in another way. And I had the realization that I just get to surrender to this life that I chose. So I declared it. I said, I'm going to surrender to this. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. This is what I've chosen, and I get to do this. So I surrender to it. Little did I know that I was going to get up on Monday morning, go to work at the construction site where I was working, and get fired. Crazy. I was fired. But I remembered that I surrendered to my vision of being a transformational facilitator, and nothing would ever stand in the way of me having that. So I went home and I had to write all of the things that I get to accomplish in my life to have this vision come to life. And within 2 hours, I received a phone call from a friend who said, hey, what are you up to? I said, nothing, I got fired. And she says, great, because I've been looking to hire you. I need a director of marketing, and I also need a basic skills trainer. You start on Wednesday. And at that point, I realized that when I surrender to what is, the universe has a way of supporting me because it is my deeper intuition. It is my deeper intention to create something spectacular for myself. And when you are in tune with that, you get to surrender to what is. And the next portion, which is extremely powerful, is declare it to be so. Declare it to be so. Now, some of you who are on your computers, you may see the Declaration of Independence on your screen. So some of you are joining us by phone, and so I want to just give you a little visual so you can imagine what's in your head. The screen has the Declaration of Independence on the screen. And the Declaration of Independence was written by a group of people who didn't know how they were going to achieve all of this, but they knew that this was something that they stood for. This is something that they absolutely stood for. And the gift of declaring is, it's an extraordinary breakthrough result that wasn't going to happen anyway. And when it's initiated by one's declaration, it will happen because I say so, period. And a declaration is a vehicle to call one forth to accomplish the extraordinary. And it's made without a couple of things, which include declare without evidence. You don't need to have any evidence ahead of time that you're going to have the result that you declare turn out. In fact, needing evidence removes one from the domain of declaring and puts one into the domain of predicting. And you don't even need to know how to do it. You get to declare it so powerfully that it's going to happen, that it happens. And I'm going to ask you to think about someone who declared something really powerful, and his name is Thomas Edison. He had zero evidence that his idea for harnessing electricity to produce light could work. He had no evidence. And he made 2,000 attempts to create a light bulb. Now, did he give up? And was he a failure? No. Edison simply said that I learned 2,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And so that's something that's really powerful. Declaring without evidence, without proof that something is going to turn out. It's a powerful place to stand. And you can also declare without agreement. And I want you to think about this. You may be able to relate. You may have goals in your life that you wanted to achieve, but there were some people who didn't agree with you. There may be some people who turned their back on you when you decided to go that route. And because of that, you didn't follow through. So declaring without agreement means that you may have to, at one point or another, stand alone in your conviction that your declaration is going to happen. There may not be any outside agreement that what you've declared can occur. So the question for you would be, how well do you operate in the face of no agreement? How much do you need others' agreement or approval before proceeding to become extraordinary? Declare without agreement. And this one is a big one too. Declare without authority. And I want you to think about this one. How many of you wait for someone to give you permission to show up to your life? How many of you are out there waiting for other people to tell you, okay, Teddy, you can show up to your life now. Vanessa, you're strong. You now have permission to show up to your life. And so declaring without authority. No one is going to give you permission to step forward in life and become a leader or to be extraordinary. Extraordinary human beings grant themselves authority and permission to create extraordinary results. So instead of waiting for permission, why not just be extraordinary? Instead of asking for permission to show up as great or loving or vulnerable or a beautiful, juicy, sensual person, be it. No one is going to give you the permission, nor do you even need it. So here's another distinction. Give up being safe. Give up being safe. Now look in the middle of the circle here. Being like everyone else. Your comfort zone is like being like everyone else. Being insecure. Surviving, which we talked about. Fear, just getting by, a dull life, playing it safe, procrastination, regret, and settling for less. And on the other side of that comfort zone is what I like to call the 2% mindset. Embracing the unknown, being excited for life, liking change or embracing it, living life without limits, living in abundance, acting in spite of fear, getting the most of life, personal fulfillment, choosing happiness, exploring new things, confidence, and going for your dreams. And I hear people talking about, well, it's too risky. I don't want to take that leap of faith because it's too risky. But think about this. Everything is risky. Everything is risky. From the moment you were born, it got risky. Getting into a relationship is risky. Getting into a marriage is risky. Starting a new job is risky. Living life is risky. I'll tell you something. Do you want to know how risky life is? I'll tell you how risky life is. You're not going to get out of life alive. Now, that's risky. So if the ultimate is we're all going to die at one point, why not choose from a place of being risky? And there may be a few of you out there who say, well, I just want safety and security. Great. Then you can stand in the corner and I'll give you a sheet and I'll throw a sheet over your head so you don't have to see everybody and people don't have to see you. And I'll tell you what, I'll even provide you with, I'll feed you 3 times a day. So you'll be safe, you'll be fed, you'll be comfortable, you'll be secure, and we'll make sure that nothing ever happens to you. But then you may say, or actually, and I'll even tell you what, you'll even live until you're 100. How about that? And some of you may say, oh wow, 100. But what a way to live, right? Exactly. What a way to live, safe and secure. So don't ask me for safety and security. Ask me for adventure. Because I would much rather have 30 years of an adventurous life, risking, going for it, achieving everything that I've ever wanted, rather than having 100 years in a corner. So I want you to think about this. What area of your life do you get to give up being safe? Where are you being safe right now? Is it in your job? Is it in your relationships? Is it in your finance? Is it in your business? Where are you being safe? Is it asking your boss for that vacation that you've always wanted, but you're afraid that you're gonna get fired? Where in your life are you being safe? And the next one is take action and not waiting for tomorrow, but taking action now. So if you could take a look at this quote by Nelson Mandela, it says, "Action without vision is only passing time. Vision without action is merely daydreaming. But vision with action can change the world." In fact, even in changing the world, vision with action can change your life. Vision with action can give you a sense of freedom, of joy, of passion, of living life on the skinny branches. And what I mean by that is, if you could imagine a tree with a lot of different branches that are up there. And you're standing on one of those branches, and you're closest to the trunk of this entire tree. And as you begin to walk out on this branch, it gets skinnier and skinnier and flimsier and flimsier, to the point where it seems as if it's going to break. And what I'm inviting you all into is living on the skinny branches of life. Living it in such a way that you're ready to take a risk, that you follow your intuition, that you declare without evidence, that you surrender to what is, that you give up being safe, and when you're ready to give up being safe, take action, but not tomorrow, take action right now. So the biggest question for all of you on the line right now is, what action can you take right now that would ultimately change the trajectory of your life? What action is that? And I want you to think about it. And even in the coming days, you guys have some time before you get back to work. I think it would be safe to say that some of you have a 3-day weekend. Some of you may not. Some of you work in the service industry. Thank you for being out there. But I really want you to have you in deep thought about what area of your life, what goal do you want to achieve that you get to take action now and take a risk. live on the skinny branch of life. Live outside of the comfort zone. So that is the question that I ask for each of you to live in for the next couple of days before you get back into your work week. And maybe even write it down. The most powerful thing that we could ever do is speak our declarations into existence. I think some of you may have heard about that. Speak your declaration into existence. And what I mean by that is the moment that it leaves my mouth, the universe conspires in such a way that it supports me to having that happen. Now, I don't say this in terms of if I speak it out to the universe, I get to sit back and some magic mumbo jumbo occurs. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about. You do get to put the work in. You do get to create it and take action on it. So before we go into the wrap-up of this entire webinar, I'm going to play a video for you guys. And this video is of an extremely powerful speaker by the name of John F. Kennedy. And if you could remember, there was a point in time where the United States declared that we were going to go to the moon. We had made some technological advances, and we declared that we were going to go to the moon. We didn't know exactly how we were going to get there, but we made that declaration. And so I'm going to play this video for you, and I also believe that maybe those of you who are on the phone lines can also see this as well. So here is the video.
We meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. No man can fully grasp how far and how fast we have come. But condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history in a time span of about a half a century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man had learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. Then about 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelter. Only 5 years ago, man learned to write and use a cart with wheels. Christianity began less than 2 years ago. The printing press came this year. And then less than 2 months ago, during this whole 50-year span of human history, the steam engine provided a new source of power. Newton explored the meaning of gravity. Last month, electric lights and telephones and automobiles and airplanes became available. Only last week did we develop penicillin and television and nuclear power. This is a breathtaking pace, and such a pace cannot help but create new ills as it dispels old. So it is not surprising that some would have us stay where we are a little longer, to rest, to wait. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it is that man in his quest for knowledge and progress is determined and cannot be deterred. We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away, a giant rocket more than 300 feet tall on an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and then return it safely to Earth. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, Why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous, greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked.
So, in that particular video, it was powerful. It was a powerful thing to declare that we were going to the moon. We're going to the moon, and we do things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. The easy things in life are mediocre, whereas the hard things in life, the challenging things in life, that's where living life, and that's where taking risks, that's where the rewards of taking risks come into action. So before we wrap up, I'd like to share with you guys a little bit about what's next, about where I'm headed next. So something that I've noticed in my day-to-day travels and my day-to-day interactions with people is I find that today people are big on staying busy, big on achieving their goals, which is amazing. But for some, as they go round and round on the hamster wheel of life, they don't really take the opportunity to slow down, to take in the beauty that is surrounding them. I've noticed a lot of people very rarely take the time for themselves to create intimacy with their partners, to create connection with their kids, to deepen their relationship with others and also the world around us. See, this isn't about just me. This is bigger than just me. This is even bigger than just we here. This is about creating a new conversation within the collective consciousness of the entire planet. That's what I'm up to. And that's my vision, is creating an authentic dialogue with people that have them think, that have them create, and have them stop and take in life as it was meant to be. So that's something that I spoke about at the beginning of this entire thing, about following your deeper intuition. And in finding that deeper intuition, I am noticing that people are on this constant hamster wheel. I gotta cook dinner, and I gotta go pick up the kids from school, and I gotta drop the kids off at school, and I gotta shower, and I gotta get dressed for work, and I gotta go to work, and then I gotta go pick up the kids again, and then I gotta go to soccer practice, and I gotta come home and I gotta cook a meal, and then I gotta wash the dishes, and I gotta do all of this stuff. And in the middle of all of that, we miss out on life. We miss out on following our deeper intuition, our deeper calling. Because for all of us, there is some form of deeper calling, whatever it may be for you. Whatever it may be. I remember watching a video on YouTube with Steve Harvey talking about finding your gifts. And he had a friend who is a landscaper. And he said something about some of you may fry chicken better than others. And some of you may bust tables better than others. Some of you may speak better than others. And when I noticed that people are on this hamster wheel and that they were missing out on life, hours, days, weeks, months, and even years go by like that. So I decided to create a workshop called The Breath of Life. And it's a one-day workshop where you get to slow down, find your deeper intuition. And throughout the workshop, we implement daily practices that you can put into your life, which include certain breathing techniques and also implementing meditation of sorts. And it's an experiential workshop, not like how we were today on this webinar, but you're actually in a room with people interacting, either one-on-one within didactic training, or also in a group setting. And there's even some work that you do by yourself. But the deeper intention of creating this workshop is so that people can find their deeper intuition, can find their deeper calling. And from within that, find a sense of freedom as they take on their daily routine, but create a relationship with it in such a way that they are able to have all of the things that they've ever wanted. So that's what the Breath of Life workshop is. And I'm going to be delivering it June 11th here in Las Vegas. I know some of you are in Canada and some of you are out there in Texas. You are more than welcome to join us on June 11th. My goal is to fill the room with 50 plus people. 50 plus people. And a one-day workshop like this normally would cost on average of about $200. But I'm not going to charge that. So for this workshop, I'm actually going to be charging $125 for 8 hours. And for those of you who know what experiential learning is and accelerated learning and emotional intelligence is, you know the value of just that. But for today, everybody who's on the webinar, I'm going to be offering it for $75. So all of you who are on today, it will be $75 for you to join in this amazing opportunity. For those of you who have been through the work, and for some of you who even haven't been through the work, it's going to be a huge opportunity. And what I'm committing to is half of the profits from that will be donated to Safe Nest, which is an organization that supports women, children, and animals who suffer from domestic violence and abuse. So not only is my intention to create a deeper consciousness in the world by spreading this message along to all of you and having you find your inner wisdom and deeper intuition, but it also supports me in giving back to the community. So that's an invite for all of you, and I will be putting up the website where you can go and make your payment to enroll. I will be putting that within the follow-up email with all of you, and also for the next 3 people who enroll into the workshop actually I'm going to make it by Monday at midnight. So for the next 3 people who sign up, enroll by Monday, I'm going to offer a half-hour coaching session, and we will discuss everything from what it is that you want to do and where do you want to be. So, so that wraps it up for me. It is 7 o'clock on the dot, and this time I filled up the entire hour with content. I'm so excited about that. So, again, I want to thank all of you for joining me. Thank you for your support. Thank you, because it means a lot to me. And the biggest thing is drop me some feedback. Write me a message. You'll be receiving an email within the next hour with an opportunity for you to provide feedback. Provide feedback. And I don't care if it's what worked for you and what didn't work for you. I will take all of it. So I hope you have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. And I'm going to leave you with this. Go out today and make a difference for someone. Or just this weekend. Make a difference for someone. Make a difference for someone so that they can go to bed at night, lay down their head, and know that they mean something. So that's a challenge that I'll put out to you. So have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you guys, and I hope to see you all soon.